good stuff. We're all traumatized.
Sounds fantastic.
Yeah, so instead of a roast, this could be therapy, and we can all talk about our childhood trauma. And
I think we should start out rough and then kind of swerve into feel good territory, like Bait did, where it's like everybody's getting along now, and they're all like, "Oh, we forgive you,"
Afterglow.
I was thinking about Bait a little bit last
at the
night.
end,
I was thinking about the Julian McMahon and the shop girl romance, and like how weird it would be to be like, "Hey mom, I met this guy when he was trying to rob the store I worked at, but then a tsunami hit and we got trapped in there with sharks, but he was willing to kill his partner so we could all survive." It was pretty brutal, but it worked out in the end. And
stabbed him in the chest with a hook, which is just
exactly
so romantic,
Don't you think you might leave out a few details if you were telling your mom about the meet cute? You might be like, yeah, he was a hero. He's very heroic. He saved us. I think you might leave out the part where he started trying to rob the store.
I'm pretty sure I'd just say I met him at work.
Right. It's done.
That would be enough.
And isn't he dreamy?
Listen to that accent.
Oh, did my accent come out?
Oh, no, I meant his.
Oh.
Although yours does come out, I love it because when you get super excited, you start veering more into, the Texan, and I love it. I'm waiting for you to say, because one thing you haven't said, and everybody I've heard from Texas say is I'm fixing to do something, and you haven't said that yet. And so then I'm like, is she actually really Texan? Because
the English major in me keeps a lot of that at check. Where I don't use too much slang. Because I'm a writer and English major, and I also did speech and debate, so I sort of learned how to mitigate a lot of it to where you can't always tell I'm from Texas, but yeah, if I'm tired or drunk or really excited, then it does slip in, and then people are like, "Whoa, where'd that accent come from?" I'm like, oh shit, yeah, there it is.
Love it.
I think we should all embrace our weird colloquialisms. I say, John, I'm from Philly. Jack, there's got to be something that not Utahnians say.
Well, I've retained my Californian, so yeah.
Wait, I'm sorry. Hang on. One thing at a time. What is John? I don't know this.
John is it's a catch-all noun. So if you're from Philly, I could say that this cat on my lap is this John. If you go to a place you're like, oh, I'm going to go to this John for a cheesesteak. John just kind of covers.
I've never
it's a
heard
universal
that.
word.
It doesn't make any sense at all.
Oh no, it doesn't make any sense at all. But anybody from Philly knows John.
Huh.
Oh, that seems really confusing.
Right?
Oh, anybody from Philly is really confused most of the time. Have you seen Gritty? He is our prince, but...
Have I seen what?
Gritty?
What is that? Do I not know?
Oh my god. Okay, Gritty is the greatest mascot in the history of the world. I do not like sports, but I like mascots a lot. And...
I think that sums up everything we ever need to know about Kelly in one sentence right there.
True.
I don't love sports, but I love mascots a whole lot. That's a t-shirt right there.
Oh my god, what a weird thing. Oh my gosh. Okay.
Okay, I mean, I'm going to send you guys a picture of Gritty. He's our pride and our joy. He dressed up as Barbie to go see Barbie. It's just the best thing in the world. Hold on. This has nothing to do with sharks, by the way. I don't know.
Oh boy.
Look at that. That is
Gritty is in the chat.
Yeah. Boom.
Hold on.
He's majestic, isn't he?
He is. He pulled it off. Good for him.
What the hell is this?
The greatest mascot of all time.
What is he a mascot for? Insanity?
The Flyers. Well, yes. Kind of, yes. He is very, 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 very weird and so fun to follow on social media. Whoever's running those accounts is doing the Lord's work.
You guys are nutty. I mean, says the Texan, you know.
You guys have to have some weird stuff too, I'm sure.
No, that's why it was sarcasm.
No, Utahns don't enunciate for shit, and it's weird because they'll have these they'll have these names, and a lot of these city names are biblical. Well, let me reel that back in. They're not biblical. They're Mormon-ish. They're Mormon-y. Mm-hmm. They're not completely different Bible, completely different book. So but they don't like to enunciate. So like it's like instead of didn't, it's didn't like, and it's not just, it's like every word that you would enunciate doesn't get enunciated out here, and it's really, really awkward because you don't understand. Like I don't understand what they're saying sometimes, and I've lived here for a long fucking time, and I'm like that's, how did you graduate? How did you leave second grade, third grade if you can't even enunciate basic words?
My next no notes pick is not going to be one that requires smarts.
Oh boy!
Full disclosure.
Well, you said that about I think you thought that about Phantom, and like we had such an intelligent conversation about a movie. That's
I thought
kind
so.
of crazy.
Yeah, I thought so.
I'm going full warm and fuzzy though for my next pick.
Oh my god! Now I almost want to I want you to tell me, but I don't want you to.
I will just say it has to do with the November holiday. It is not. I can promise you, it is not Amityville Thanksgiving. I would never do that to you guys.
Oh.
The worst, possibly the worst movie I've ever seen.
Wait, hang on. I'm looking something up now. This is also good podcasting when you look stuff up in real time. This is the movie I'm thinking about. Sweet November.
Oh God, no. No.
Oh, I got really excited.
I have never seen that. Is that the one with Keanu and Winona?
Yeah. It's not Winona. It's Charlize, I think.
Okay. Does she get sick and die in it? Or am I thinking of a totally different movie?
Well, I mean, spoiler alert, but yes.
Isn't there one with Winona Ryder and maybe she's in it with like somebody else that's also kind of like a New York-y feeling, I don't even know what it's called. Autumn in New York or something like that, maybe? This is really not important, but now I'm just curious.
No, this is really important. We should do, in our next spinoff show, we should talk about these kind of movies because...
I like the idea that our next spinoff show is just us trying to remember the names of movies.
Right.
It's like,
what was a game show, yeah.
Yeah. It's called, what was that movie again?
Just like Bait had 50 writers, we're going to have 50 podcasts. It's going to be awesome.
I know. Hey, I thought we were absolutely insane, and I still do think we are, but in a good way. But somebody, because I'm auditioning podcasts now, and somebody messaged me, and they're like, well, I have like 10 podcasts all on our little like platform, and they're all like wildly different, and it made me laugh because I was like, oh God, somebody else is like us and is addicted and is doing like, and then this should be a spinoff, and this should be a spinoff. And I need to bring that person on our network because I'm like, you are one of us. You are a kindred spirit. Oh, Autumn in New York is with her and Richard Gere.
Oh, that's a pretty big age gap, isn't that?
Yeah.
But I think it's the same kind of idea.
That doesn't matter in Hollywood because,
He's an infamous verging on 50 playboy. That's what he plays. I'm reading the little synopsis.
I feel like he was past the verging point at that point, but we can table that.
You're correct. We have a winner.
Oh shit. Yeah, the romantic comedy spinoff that we're gonna do.
Rom-coms that are actually good?
Yeah. Or rom-coms that are just like so cheesy that you just can't help but love them.
I have a limited number that I like. The Wedding Singer is pretty much most of my list.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good
The Wedding Singer is great. I have no notes. Well, there you go. I have no notes on that movie. It's so good. Peak Adam Sandler.
I would go back into the vault for mine. Like we would be going back to the 90s, but
no shame in that.
No, it's good stuff. Although, again, when I say good, I would rewatch it and be like, oof, maybe not so good, but...
Ooh, I thought that Never Been Kissed was good because I liked it when I watched it. And I thought, I'll watch this while I'm like riding a stationary bike one day. And it is rough.
It's not good. I loved it too.
It's really rough. I mean, I still love Drew Barrymore, and I love that they make absolutely no effort at all to actually make her look like a teenager, even when it's supposed to actually like go back in time and her be a teenager. But it's the optics are a little bit troubling in a modern viewpoint.
I think that's a movie that's just carried solely by the charm of the actor. Like it's, the actors are charming, so you buy it and you go with it. But if you start to peel apart any of the layers, you're like, well, yeah, it falls apart real quickly. Especially
the David Arquette subplot. He's so cute and charming in it, but like, it's also so troubling. As is the idea that this high school is just letting adults register willy-nilly with no follow-up questions.
Reality Bites is one of my favorites of all time.
I was just going to comment on Reality Bites because I love it and I hate it kind of in equal measure. I love it because it's like everybody in it's really good and I love all the characters in it, and I hate the fact that it's so very 90s. It's so very grungy that it's like, oh, look, here's this guy who's a successful businessman, a successful record executive who actually makes good money and like can provide for her. And now, and like, he is I mean, I don't say the villain. He's not the villain of the movie, but he's the bad guy. He's like, it's like so anti-corporate. It's so anti, because it's like, oh, he's actually got money. Well, you can't date him. Like, heaven forbid you actually like go with a guy who's stable and has a good job. You need that. It's funny because when you watch it back then at that time, I think I was like, 94, I was 18. It was like, yeah, this movie is really fucking good. And then I watched it as an adult. It feels really punk rock when you're a kid. Wait a minute.
Yeah, I was going to say it appeals very much to young Stephanie, who was like, oh, starving artist. Oh, it's so romantic and dreamy. Yeah, exactly. And adult Stephanie is like, you dumbass. Like, get the money and get security. Don't be ridiculous. But yeah.
I use, because I was raised in a musical theater house, I use Rent as my point of maturity, that like when you're young, you're like, yeah, why should they have to pay him? And when I'm an adult, I'm like, I don't know. I don't like landlords either, but like he did give them apparently like several years of free rent. I don't know that it's totally unreasonable for him to be like, hey, dipshits, get a fucking job.
Yeah, but like La Bohemia, like.
It actually is a really good rom-com, and I'm pretty positive this one holds up because I think I just watched it a few years ago. Oddly enough, it's called Keeping the Faith, and it's got Ben Stiller and Ed Norton and Jenna Elfman in it. And Ben Stiller plays a rabbi, and Ed Norton is a priest, and they're both in love with Jenna Elfman, and it's almost unspeakably really sweet. Like it doesn't make either. And nobody's a villain in it. It is though. Oh, it's so nobody's good. Like so shitty cute. Or villainous in it. It's almost screwball-ish, like almost like a throwback to the screwball rom-coms of the 40s and 50s, and it's really charming and likable.
I'm still a sucker for There's Something About Mary, though. Like I'm still a sucker for that movie.
There's some real sweetness in that movie.
Like it's dumb and it's like there's some stuff that's like whoa, but honestly, it I don't know. It largely just fucking succeeds, and everybody in it is so fucking funny.
I have to look this up because I watched one recently that everybody was like, "Oh, it's my comfort food. It's so sweet." And I watched it, and it pissed me off so bad. I was like, "This is disgusting. What is wrong with you people?" I'm like, I hate
well, maybe, but I hate How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days so much.
Oh God,
and
me
a lot of people love that one, and I'm just like, why am I watching two unlikable people fall in love? Do I need to? Is this necessary? Like they're both jerks. I don't care.
Oh my God, what is the name of this movie, and how do I find it? Oh,
well,
it was like one of those like love triangle things. It had Kate Hudson in it. Speaking of,
it always does.
And it had
does.
And it had another girl who I can't think of her name, brunette, who I think is really cute, who I love.
I know the exact movie you're talking about. Shit. Because Kate Hudson's engaged to this guy, right? And then the little brunette sleeps with him. Yes. Yeah, that's a terrible movie. I hated it so much. End up
falling in love, and it's just it's gross.
And John Krasinski's there for some reason, and
and John Krasinski's like the good guy who's like she should be with, but she's like, sorry, I don't feel that way about you. I like this other guy who was engaged to my big BFF. I hate it.
And like they try really hard to make Kate Hudson annoying so that you don't care when it happens, but you're still like, this is a horrible thing to do to somebody who you claim is your best friend.
Yeah, and I did not think I thought it was going to end like totally differently. I thought she was going to be like, they were going to realize that the friendship was more important than the relationships or some kind of shit. And that would have been like, I'd have been on board, but no, it just ends. It's gross. I don't like it at all. And I wish I need to know the name of it.
It's called, I think it's called Something Borrowed.
Something Borrowed. I think that's right.
I think that's it.
And people love that movie. They fucking love that movie.
I hate it.
I don't get it. But let me tell you what I do love that you guys are going to make fun of me for. Because I'm scrolling now to look up romantic comedies to think of the name of it. And I came across this. And this is my guilty pleasure, right? Ready?
Mm-hmm.
The Fault in Our Stars. Oh my God, it's so bad, but I love it.
I've
never
seen
actually
it.
seen it.
I read
It
the
was
book.
a
I
book.
didn't see the movie.
Yeah, never saw it.
Oh shit. Well, I watched the movie first and it devastated me. Then I read the book and then that really fucked me up because the book's obviously like way better.
I thought the book was pretty good. I can't speak to the movie, but I thought the book was pretty good.
The book is good. The movie, it's one of those things, it's probably objectively not good, but like I can't get enough of it. It's just, and those two people are awful, like in real life, so it makes it even worse, but it's like, oh, still so good.
Generally speaking, tragic teens is not my favorite subgenre.
What?
I know, shocking. I much prefer when they're getting like, killed by a knife-wielding maniac. But
Yes.
but I did think the book was pretty good, so I don't think there's a lot of reason to think I wouldn't think the movie was fine, at least.
Schmaltzy.
I
But
don't
it's
know.
like,
I think
maybe
the
a little
80s did
schmaltzy.
tragic teens so much better, though. Like, 16 Candles and Breakfast Club and Some Kind of Wonderful, I think.
oh,
Well,
Something
those are
about
not the
those
like
older
literally
movies.
tragic teens.
No, but I have a hard time, and it's probably just showing my age, but I have a hard time with these modern kind of younger skewing comedies. I mean, obviously these none of these actors were teenagers, or very few of them were actual teenagers playing teenagers, but they pulled it off. It was the 80s. They didn't have de-aging technology. You just fucking went with it, but it was, I don't know, those movies just kind of, I guess they set a bar that these modern movies for me just can't meet. Where
Jack,
other movies like, horror movies, got it. There's some horror movies that are just as good as anything that came out in the 70s and 80s that are modern. There's action movies, but to me, like the whole teen dramedy, like just doesn't work. Like it's like,
Well,
I think it peaked in the 80s and it's done.
I think it peaked with a person in the 80s. I think John Hughes understood better than almost anybody else did.
He captured it.
Like, he just got being a teenager. And I'm not going to shit on modern teen movies. Like, I'm glad the kids have, what they like. I think that a lot of it is just kind of treating teens like they're just smaller adults.
Yeah.
Instead of like the very unique way that John Hughes kind of tapped into that teenage experience.
Jack, every time
comments.
you say,
go ahead.
Well, I say every time you say these, and you always do it with this emphasis, you're like, these modern movies. It sounds like you're like, these goddamn kids today. Like, it just sounds so.
Get off my lawn.
Get off my lawn. Yeah.
No.
I can hear the italics in your voice.
Right.
These fucking modern movies.
Modern movies.
Dickheads. Fuck knuckles. God, I hate them. No, I was reading an article, not article. I was reading comments on popular movies in the 80s and early 90s, and somebody was saying like, it was a whole love fest for Breakfast Club, and then one person like deigned to come on there and say, well, I don't know, like nothing actually happens in it. They just go to detention and nothing happens, and like everybody just lit that fucker up, and I thought it was so awesome. Because
I'm not the biggest fan of the Breakfast Club. I'm going to be totally honest with you. Anything that suggests that this is a trope I hate, that the goth girl, when she becomes happy, becomes preppy. And they took Ali Sheedy from being so cute and like charming, and then they like fixed her. If you could hear the air quotes in that.
Oh, yeah.
And I hated that. I was like, I'm Ali Sheedy and you've just ruined me.
But that's the whole 80s though, because the whole 80s was like, oh, that guy's quiet. That kid's quiet. There must be something wrong with him. And it's like, no, motherfuckers. I'm just quiet. There's nothing wrong with me. There's something wrong with you for not just letting me be quiet, and the 80s got a lot of shit like that wrong. I'll give them that, And
I mean, if you watch a lot of these movies, especially like even John Hughes, who I love, like they're very problematic through a modern lens. Like
sure.
You're like,
Yes.
100%. Yeah.
Yes.
We were kind of fucked up back then. Like we were not.
Yeah, the shit that they got away with in like 70s and 80s movies, like, people today would lose their shit. Like there's no way that Hollywood could get away with that today.
Yeah. But that trope is also in one of my favorite movies of the 2000s, which is The Faculty. And it breaks my heart because I think that movie is perfect in every other way, except for that one thing where Clea Duvall gets the cutesy buttons makeover at the end, because that movie is so good. And then they do that. And I'm like, oh no, I'm so sad that you did that. We've gone on a very
We went way, way left field.
Right?
We're in a completely different podcast that we haven't even named yet. I love it.
oh, so what is this spinoff that we're doing now? I love it. Let's like create a new podcast right on the spot.
Pretty but problematic. I don't know, something.
Oh shit, I love that actually. Oh god, I'm writing that down. That actually, just because you came up with a good name, now I want to do it because I'm a branding girl. So that's like the key to my heart. You say something that I'm like, oh, I can brand that.
I mean, it wouldn't.
But then you're going to get bored with it halfway through, right? Just like
yeah,
Murphy,
for sure.
You know,
yeah.
Like you could do not just rom-coms, but just movies that you love, but that you recognize have elements that do not hold up or stand the test of time.
You guys, like, okay, I'm half joking, but like this is actually really smart and compelling, and people would dig it. You know what I'm saying?
I'm all for it. I mean, you guys.
I often watch movies I love and think, wait a second.
Same. And it's like, it's one of those things, because we talk about it a lot too with outside of movies, just with problematic creators, you know, and we could even go way into the weeds with that and say, you know, it's like how, you know, divorcing the creation from the creator. I mean, this thing could go way fun and way fucking deep.
I was just thinking about that recently because I'm sure you guys know, but like Lars von Trier, like who I think I love his movies, even though they're like super fucked up. But he, as a person, is not good on any level. I think we all can agree with that. And he recently took out a like a personal ad looking for a partner, and it was like weird as fuck and really like upsetting and shit. And it reminded me, like, it made me think of that like conversation that we always keep having of like, okay, I love the art, I hate the artist, and what do you do with that? And yeah.
I had a whole conversation about that the other day with some friends, because we started talking about like movies that you have trouble rewatching because of the trauma that's inherent in them. And we were talking about The Crow, for starters, that like it's a little weird to watch The Crow because of what happened to Brandon Lee. And I was saying that like I cannot and will not ever watch the Twilight Zone movie because of the Landis bit. And my antipathy towards Landis as a result of that movie makes it even so that like when I watch An American Werewolf in London, which is one of my favorite movies of all time, I still have this like kind of gross feeling of like, I feel like I'm supporting John Landis and he is a terrible, horrible person.
I struggle with that with what's his name? He was in Seven. Kevin
Spacey.
Kevin Spacey.
Yeah.
Because he's in some great fucking movies. Like he is in
LA Confidential.
Like some of the top 10. Exactly. Yes. That's one of my favorites. He's good in all of them. And then it's like, oh my God, like, again, that's tough to watch because like I don't want to support him, but he's in literally a lot of my favorite movies, and it's like, oh shit.
Like fucking Baby Driver, which I love.
Baby Driver's fantastic.
And I love the director so much, but then it's got Kevin Spacey, and it's also got I can't remember his name.
Alden Ehrenreich, or no, is that?
He's got a weird name. It's
Ansel Elgort or something.
Yes, that's it. Yeah. He's a total douchebag in real life, and he's in Fault in Our Stars too, and he's charming and adorable and whatever. And I was like, oh,
so he's a great actor because he's yeah.
And then I'm like, God damn it, because that's a fucking great movie, and like I said, the director is amazing. But yeah,
wasn't it Edgar Wright who did it?
Yes,
yeah, it's fantastic. Yeah.
These problematic people, pretty but problematic.
Just never meet your heroes, right?
I mean, I feel the same way about Friedkin. Like,
yes,
The Exorcist is obviously an amazing movie, but like he did unforgivable shit on that set.
Yeah.
Truly unforgivable shit.
Yeah. Kubrick is kind of the same thing.
Thank you. I was just
what he did to Shelley Duvall was unacceptable.
Yep. But it's like, that's the thing, is to like, you're watching the art, and like you can be a monster and be brilliant. Like you can create brilliant things and be a horrible person in real life. And a lot of them are, unfortunately.
A lot of them are, I think. Yeah, you know.
And I think there's like a whole conversation to be had about the weird way that after somebody's been revealed to be a monster, we try and pretend that they're not talented. Because I feel like when you do that, you're suggesting that there's some sort of like actual moral superiority to being talented, when in fact it's often just kind of lucky birth, you know? I mean, everybody, when Joss Whedon proved himself to be a shit, everybody was suddenly like, oh, I hate Joss Whedon's work anyway. And I'm like, no, you don't. You loved Buffy last week. You know, you loved Dr. Horrible, and it's fine. Like, him being a bad person doesn't negate his talent, just like somebody being untalented doesn't negate them being a good person. Like, the two things have absolutely nothing to do with each other.
You guys,
Ike Turner was a bastard, but he was super talented. Like,
the devastation I felt when it came out that Whedon was an awful person, I was like, because he was like a hero to me.
Same.
I was like, I fucking because not only because he creates great art, but he was like, I thought he was this great like, feminist and somebody who's like making this great art like for and putting women front and center in these like really kind of powerful roles. Like he was the shit. And then
and
that's honestly, the one that really got to me. I don't care. Like I rallying. It's like that fucking sucks. And Weinstein obviously is the biggest piece of human turd in the existence. But all that kind of stuff was like, oh, that sucks. Oh, that sucks. Then it was like, oh God, really, Whedon? God damn it! Because I had the same thing. I'm like, this guy is actually doing. If I were in that position, I'd be wanting to do what I thought he was doing, which was empowering not just women, but like everybody. He was kind of giving a voice. I thought, this is great. This is good. And it's like, oh, you fucker.
Because there used to be those shirts in Whedon We Trust. Like it was like a whole fucking cult of Whedon, and I was on board 100%. And I'm like, and I still worship kind of everything that he's done, pretty much. But
that's the thing too. Like, there's not that many creators whose work I've as consistently appreciated as Whedon's. Brian Fuller is the exception to the rule. I've loved literally everything Brian Fuller has ever done and will ever do in perpetuity. And so far, no dirty laundry has come out about him. Fingers crossed, knock wood, all of that good shit. Because I love him so much and it would break my heart completely. But like, I loved Firefly. I loved Buffy, Dr. Horrible.
Yes.
I'm not the biggest Marvel fan, but I thought his Avengers movie was fun. I didn't see Dollhouse, so I can't. Yeah, I still watch Cabin in the Woods every year for Halloween because it's just so goddamn good.
It's so good.
So yeah, it was like a real fucking bummer, but like at the same time, I feel like that's kind of a reductive thing to say for somebody who like actually abused people. So I don't want to be like, well, I'm sad that the thing I liked I can't like quite as much anymore because of this. But my point with all of this is just that like, of course, he's still a good writer. Like, that's still going to be true. Of course, he still wrote good, often very funny, very clever, very insightful stuff. He just also happened to be a bastard. Those two things can coexist.
Yeah.
It's
they are not mutually exclusive.
I'm getting to the point where I'm like, okay, is there anybody left? Like, there's a handful of people I think are still, at least to all knowledge, reasonably decent people.
Dolly Parton.
But there's not a shitload. Dolly Parton is queen and royalty forever, but
absolutely.
And I believe Stephen Colbert and Steve Carell are both, I believe, universally agreed upon to be mensches, just like aggressively decent eggs.
Jon Stewart, because I love him.
Yes, I believe he's still pretty much considered a good egg all around.
Yeah, but I mean, like, there's a lot of bad actors out there, and I feel like every day there's a new like revelation about some terrible person, and I'm like, no, I can't take it.
Well, there's just so much that was designed to protect powerful people. I mean, I love Alfred Hitchcock, but I also know he was also kind of an abusive prick.
He was,
that's because the studio system was in place to take care of him, like to make sure that he, as long as he kept making money, he was kept safe. Which sucks.
It's so interesting because although this feels wildly disconnected from what we're supposed to be, like air quotes, supposed to be talking about, it really does tie into The Phantom that we just watched and that whole, because it is based on like a real life person who a system was in place to protect him because he was a genius, even though he was a monster.
Yep.
Although interestingly, that leads back to one of the other people who has not been proven to be other than a mensch yet, and that is Jim Henson. And I would be so sad if Jim Henson turned out to not be the best. Like,
well, Dr. Seuss was a monster, and like, what the fuck?
He was, yep.
Like, speaking of like childhood ruined, But yeah, Jim Henson would be rough.
Yeah, would break my heart a little bit.
I think we're safe. I think we're out of the woods.
I think so. I feel like it would have come out by now if something was going to come out by now. Yeah. And everything that's come out has just been more people saying Jim Henson was the best.
So we got one.
About that. We got one. We're going to hold him with both hands. God damn it.
Yep. Treasure it. Love it and squeeze it and call it yours.
Well, I'm going to like vaguely transition us towards the Meg.
Okay.
Is that what we're doing? Okay.
There's no need to stay there. I'm just going to dip my toes in.
No,
we're talking about.
Let's dive in.
Steph, have you been recording?
Yeah, oh, hell yeah.
Oh, thank God. Oh, good. Because you normally say, like, I'm going to start, right? I don't remember you saying that, so.
I learned my lesson. I was like, record early and I can edit it out, because, like, you're going to miss some gold if you don't.
I loved Jason Statham in this movie so much. And my first exposure to him, I don't know about you guys, but for me it was Snatch. So yes. I thought of him as like more of a like smart guy comedic actor, because I saw Snatch and then I saw Lock, Stock and Two Smoking Barrels, and in both of those he's sort of like wise ass, just sort of like the smarter than everybody. Like yeah, like he's just kind of a cool guy. He's not really like an action guy. So when he transitioned into
street smarts kind of dude, yeah,
exactly. Like Turkish is not like a badass at all. He's just kind of like a wisecracking. He's slick more than anything else. And that was my exposure to him. So I was like, oh, okay, that's who this guy is. And then he started doing all of these action movies. And I was like, wait a second. I don't care about any of this shit. And I love him. So I was really disappointed. And I feel like The Meg is actually a pretty good fusion of both of those personalities for him. Because he does get to do like action guy things. And to quote my mother, her exact words were, if he was drinking the way they say he was, he would not look like that without a shirt on. She's not wrong. No. But he also is like really funny and charming. And I thought that the most likable interactions in that movie were between him and the little girl.
Yes.
I thought they were really cute.
So charming.
And, they felt like they weren't forced in the way that sometimes those kinds of things do. Like it felt effortless and likable and charming.
Like the amount of evil that I would commit in the name of Jason Statham is unspeakable. Like he is, I literally wrote down, I was taking, well, these are pseudo notes because it was sort of half-assing it, but I was like, Jason Statham can do no wrong. Like anything he is in, whatever he does, I am 100% on board. I think he can pull off fucking everything. And I think he elevates everything. Like, I don't know, is The Meg that great of a movie? I love The Meg. I think it's super fun. No. I don't think it's that great, but I think because he is in it, it is infinitely better than it would be.
I was trying to think of other actors that they could put in that role and like try to do kind of what he does in the way that he does it. And I really couldn't come up with any because it's again, he's kind of got that everyman appeal. That's like, oh yeah, he's totally a badass, but he can be goofy. He can be charming. He can be all those things. And I think with anybody else playing that role, The Meg wouldn't have done as well as it did.
This is going to be a really weird comparison. And I need you guys to stay with me because I'll explain where I'm going with it. But in some ways, the only other actor I can think of who I feel like brings that same touch to a movie or a project in general is John Cena. And it's because I feel like they're both actors who are comfortable laughing at themselves and like being a little bit goofy, but also they completely commit and are completely sincere. And it doesn't feel like they're just like half-assing their way through. So even though they're like both these like ripped dudes, they can still though be kind of like buffoons. They can fail occasionally. And like I was thinking about how in the Fast and the Furious movies, apparently there's a rule that like most of the actors refuse to lose a fight. So they have to like write all of these weird workarounds so that like when they're fighting each other, there's no actual loser because they can't lose. But John Cena was like, sure, I'll lose.
They have it in a contract for all their movies. It's not even just the Fast movies. It's like they cannot lose. It's like that's an ironclad contract. And it's one of those things where you look at that like, okay, so then you're really not an actor because if you are only going to take roles that fit your one vibe that you've got and you're never going to lose, you're never going to bleed, then you're not an actor. You know, you're an entertainer. I'll give you that.
Also, you're like 400 pounds of pure muscle. Nobody has any illusions about you being a pussy. Like, obviously, nobody's going to fight with you. Like, we get it. Yeah. You're a big, tough guy.
The fragile male ego, man. It's like, come on.
Yeah, give me actors who aren't afraid to get bloody, muddy, and like to be made fun of. And I love it. And so I would say that. And that's actually funny, like sidebar, that another good person, another good human is John Cena. So
John Cena, one of the best people. Yeah.
He's just a good dude.
It's like quietly granted more Make-A-Wish kids' wishes than anybody else.
Exactly.
Always goes above and beyond with the meetings.
Gets me in the feels every fucking time. Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that.
No, I was thinking about that because this is like the second time I've watched. I went and saw The Meg in the theater when it first came out, because I was like Statham, and I've watched almost, I would say, like 95% of his films, and I was like, this is gonna be great. This is gonna be cool. I love sharks. I love Statham. Like, what could possibly go wrong? And then really, I don't know. I think I just had a different expectation of what I was walking into. I really didn't. And it was but watching it again, like knowing now, kind of going back into it, knowing what I was walking into, I had so much more fun with this movie the second time. Like so much.
I had a
fun.
blast. I thought it was so much fun. Like I thought this is like a perfect summer movie. Like it's just light. It's silly. It has the right tone for what it is. It never feels like it takes itself that seriously. It always feels to me like this movie knows what it is. It reminded me in a very weird way of like Lake Placid, if Lake Placid was good. I even have a note that says, is Rainn Wilson Oliver Platt in Lake Placid?
Yes, he is.
Minus Bill Pullman, who I love.
I wrote a note, and I need you guys to play along with something for me, just to humor me for a second.
Mm-hmm.
So there was a movie that came out that I did not give a shit about, and it's called The Expendables. And I was like, don't care. But I need a modern remake of Expendables with Jason Statham. And I need Nick Cage to be a part of it. And I also would like Jeff Goldblum to be a part of it. And I need to know who you guys are putting in the modern Expendables that I'm making.
I don't want to blow your mind, Steph, but I'm pretty sure Statham's in one of those movies.
In it. He's actually in all of them.
Shut up.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Statham's already involved in the Expendables series.
I get that you hate him. I'm an 80s action aficionado as a young man. You grew up watching Predator and Commando and stuff. So when Expendables came out and it was like all of these mostly 80s to early 90s action stars getting back together and doing the shit that made them famous, like I could not begin to describe how all in I was. Statham is in all of those movies, like a lot.
God damn it. All right. But is he in it? When you say he's in it a lot, like he's got a really big role?
He's he's like the second headliner.
Fine.
He's like,
I will watch it. I will watch it. Even though it does not look like I'm going to enjoy it. But I love Statham.
Can we do like a, not like,
guilty pleasures?
Same time. No. I love these movies. I could never call them guilty pleasures, and I could never call them no notes either. But like, I want to watch it whenever night you decide you're going to watch it. I want to watch it again too. I mean, I've seen it like 10, 15 times anyways, but I want to watch it kind of while you're watching it, and then we can compare notes and we can talk. Because they're objectively, they are not good movies. They're dumb. They're implausible. I don't see
how they could be at this point.
Exactly, but they are a lot of fucking fun.
In it with all these 80-year-olds, like I don't understand what.
Because they dropped a dump truck of money in his driveway, and he was like, "Sure,
he loves it.
Why not?"
No, he like the fourth one that's coming out soon. Like he took over all production duties on it. Yeah, he fucking loves these movies.
Shut your face!
There's even an Expendables that's supposed to be coming out. It's like all action. No, serious.
Stop lying, Jack.
I'm serious. I know my action movies.
Goddammit. Me.
It's not good.
It's a women-fronted thing. I don't know. I'm just saying I just saw it on the web.
I hate the idea that the word Expendables is gendered, so we have to do the girl version of it.
I know.
Schwarzenegger is in those movies, right?
Yes.
Kinda. It's Stallone. What? Stallone headlines them. Schwarzenegger.
I know it's Stallone. Okay. Can I tell you my favorite Arnold Schwarzenegger, Sylvester Stallone story?
Please.
Yes.
Okay. So apparently there was a period of time where they were like in pretty hot competition for roles.
Absolutely.
And Stallone in particular, they said, was like always trying to kind of poach people's roles. He would just kind of be like, yeah, I want to do that. So like I can't remember what it was, but there was something, maybe Cobra or something like that Warren Beatty, they had said was speculated to do it. And Stallone was like, no, I want to do it instead. And he would do that with Schwarzenegger sometimes. And Schwarzenegger knew about it. So they offered Schwarzenegger Stop or My Mom Will Shoot. And he read the script and said, this is terrible. Absolutely spread the word that I'm interested in this just so that Stallone will do it while I go off and do it was something much better. But it might have been Terminator or T2 or something like that. But he pretended he was interested in it just so Stallone would take Stop or My Mom Will Shoot.
Oh,
there's actually another story out there where it was Beverly Hills Cop, and it was Eddie Murphy was on the rise. His star was rising. He had just done Saturday Night Live. He had just done, I think, his first stand-up. I mean, he was already at like 20 or 21, like a multimillionaire. He was so popular, and they gave him the script for Beverly Hills Cop, and apparently they tried to get Stallone on board first, and he tried to remake it and not a comedy, but a total like full on high body count action movie. And they were like, no, fuck you. And they gave it to Murphy. And that's kind of where Murphy's like movie career really blew up, is because of that movie. And it was all because Stallone wanted to completely change the script. Because, I mean, he had written Rocky, which, I mean, we'll have to just say that Rocky is one of the considered, I don't agree, but considered one of the greatest sports movies of all time. He wrote it. So he's like, hey, I'm hot shit. I'm this great writer. I'm going to rewrite your story. And the other screenwriters like, the fuck you are. We'll just give it to Eddie Murphy.
I got 3 things to say about that. One is apparently because of that, that's why he went on to make Cobra. Because he wanted it to be kind of like his Beverly Hills Cop.
Yeah.
Second is apparently the guy who wrote the book that Cobra is based around, Stallone approached him and said, can we take your name off of the paperback cover and put my name on instead? Because this movie is going to sell so many copies of your book, and I rewrote the script. So what if we just put my name on instead? And the guy was like, no, I wrote the book.
Wow.
And my last thing is, I'm not a huge Rocky fan, but I will say this much, especially involving what we said about like tough guys who can't go down. I think it's kind of to Sly's credit that like he wrote Rocky as losing.
Yes, I will.
Like, could you imagine like Vin Diesel ever letting one of his characters lose in like the triumphant moment of his movie? Like, I give Sly credit for that, for recognizing that the more powerful ending is actually like letting him fail.
And and we talked about it too with you talked about it mostly with Jaws, and how it's not a shark. It's a movie, a small town movie about interpersonal relationships with a shark in it. And Rocky, it's kind of like a love story between him and Adrian with boxing in it. So I'll give credit where credit's due. He did lose, and it really wasn't. Boxing was just kind of this thing that was happening, and. So yeah, I'll give him credit for that.
Every year in Philly, they do something called the Rocky Run, where they recreate the run he does through that movie, and they realize that it's like if he actually ran everywhere in Philadelphia that they show him running in there, it would be like 30 miles.
Do you guys like hit like slabs of beef too? Like do you go all in?
Of course. You have to every year to swear your Philadelphia loyalty oath. You run up the art museum steps and then you punch slabs of beef while Burgess Meredith yells at you.
Wait,
the one time I went to Philly, I went up those steps. Yeah,
all the time.
You participate in this?
Oh no, I've never done it.
Okay,
I've done the Broad Street Run, which is 10 miles, but I have certainly never done a 30-mile run.
I ran up the steps. I did the step run. I thought, I was like, yeah, look, I'm Rocky.
And did you get to the top and go, yo, Adrian?
I didn't do the yo, Adrian, because I'm really fucking shy. So I just got up there and I think I punched one arm in the air, and like, and then I was like, okay, we're leaving, like.
I did what I came here to do.
Let's get the fuck out of here before somebody sees me. Yep.
Insane. So I guess I'm hearing that I cannot make my Expendables remake with my dream.
No,
I mean, I don't think you can, simply because the series is ongoing.
It's still going.
I don't know if you can
because they're
reboot a
making
series that's still
fucking
happening.
Expendables.
But I'm all interested in I'm all interested in let's make the Bollywood or the B movie version of it.
I would like the skinny guy
one
version
that came
of it.
out. Yeah,
like it's just skinny men. Like guys who would not win in a fight at all. It's Adam Scott and Dev Patel, both of whom I love, by the way. Big fan of both of them. But like, it's just like the guys who would only play the tech guy in every situation. Is Liam Neeson in one of those yet, Jack?
No, not yet.
So
but
weird.
I was just watching. So here's the irony of this, and this is why I love you ladies, because somehow you jive in on my mental state, because I was literally exercising when I got home today, and what was I watching but Expendables 3? Like, that's what I was watching, because I can put that shit on and I don't have to pay attention, but it's just enough to kind of force me to not watch the clock and not watch the calories and all that stuff. So, in 3, it's like everybody fucking shows up. Like Ronda Rousey's in there after, while I think she was still in or just finishing up her UFC thing. And it's got fucking Harrison Ford shows up like out of the blue, and Schwarzenegger's back,
Oh,
and
I do love Harrison Ford.
I do too, but I have to assume he was just being surly the entire time.
He was, but intentionally so. Like, I mean, they're poking fun at each other. They rehash their old fucking catchphrases from movies. But they poke fun at them. Like, it's just these old guys having fun doing the thing that made them popular, but they're doing it in a way that's kind of like a nudge, nudge, wink, wink. We're in on the joke. Okay. We know it's stupid,
I get that Schwarzenegger has I'll Be Back and Bruce Willis has Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker. What does Harrison Ford have?
Nothing. He doesn't have any in that movie.
Okay. I was going to say, I don't remember there being like, and he's kind of an odd choice because I know he was Han Solo and Indiana Jones, but both of them are much more cerebral action heroes. I mean,
yeah, but he was in he's been in a couple that. Yeah, but I guess he wasn't the quintessential beefcake action guy. He was more of the thinking. What was the one where he had to go find the murderer that was living in the Amish community? Witness, which is a great movie, and he's got some action beats in that. The Fugitive, he's got some so he has action cred, just not like you'd think. Yeah,
I guess you're right. I tend to think of his action type movies as having like a heavy drama skew,
for sure,
or absolutely. Like adventure. Like indie or Star Wars. I feel like they're much more adventure than action. Absolutely. Although I guess they're both. But I don't know, when I think about Indiana Jones, who was one of my first crushes as a child, I don't think about him in like a beefcakey kind of way.
No. What? I do. I think he's super beefcakey.
I think he's super hot, but
young Harrison Ford.
Oh my God, what a dreamboat, right?
Everything, yes.
So good looking. I have this running joke that they needed Billy D. Williams in Empire because you needed somebody who had enough charm and hotness that you'd actually believe that Leia might, for like 20 seconds, look away from Han Solo. And Billy D. Williams might be the only man at that time who was good looking and charming enough to seem like he was competition for Harrison Ford.
Yeah.
Billy D.
Oh, he was so cute.
What was it he drank? Colt 45? Wasn't that like what the commercials that he was always in was for Colt 45? So. The what is it? The malt liquor? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Good stuff.
My first roommate ever, Tracy, loved her to death. She was fantastic. She was just the coolest. She did not give a fuck. But I actually never saw her drink water. I only ever saw her drink Colt 45 and Mickey's.
Oh my God.
That was her part of the fridge. That was all that was ever there. I don't know how she did it. She weighed like 50 pounds dripping wet, but that's all. I literally never saw her drink water. I guess
she did it by being in her 20s.
It was pretty impressive. Yeah.
Okay, so one of my notes was, Rainn Wilson is in this. My mom spent about 20 minutes trying to figure out who it was, and I didn't want to ruin it for her. So when she finally figured out, she was like, "Oh wait, it's Dwight." And I was
Dwight.
Like, "Yep." It's amazing how different he can look if they give him not terrible hair.
Yeah, he almost doesn't look like Rainn Wilson in this movie. It takes you a minute. You're like, I know that guy, but wait, who is it? Oh yeah.
I like how likable this cast is, kind of across the board. Even Rainn Wilson, who is supposed to be the rich douchebag, is super likable and charming. I think, he's really fun.
He has his moments. Yeah.
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 But
I love the two
Rainn
technicians
Wilson.
that were in the sub with Statham's ex, and they're they've got their own little shakes, that little buddy shakes that they do, and their own little terminology they use and their little terms of endearment. I love when you go into a movie like this, where obviously Statham's the big draw, and of course it was big in China because it had Chinese actors in it. But that outside of that, and Rainn Wilson kind of there, there's nobody really huge in this movie at the time that it was released. And I love that you go into these movies and they just have this pre-existing vibe. So it's you just kind of roll into it as a audience member. You're just yeah, they've been doing this for a while. I get it. You just ease right into it. And I love it when movies do that.
Agreed. I felt like there was a very easy chemistry with this cast that felt earned and real. I was very, very tickled by Jax because I felt like she's such an archetype of the punky haired hacker.
Mm-hmm.
That made me laugh really hard because I was like, I've seen this character in 700 movies, but I still like her. She's still fun. It does one of those things that I think is very, very, very funny in any movie. it almost always happens in like Hallmark Christmas movies where a very pretty woman sees a very jacked man without his shirt on, and she acts like she's having like a full body orgasm, and she has never seen a shirtless man before in her life. And like this very pretty scientist woman sees Jason Statham shirtless, and she has this whole like like moment where it's like, oh, that's what they look like without a shirt on. And it makes me laugh so hard every time that happens, because I'm always like, look, yes, he looks really good, but like you've seen this before. You've watched movies, if nothing else. Like, it's not totally turning you into jelly.
I don't know.
Steph, I feel like we're learning a little bit about you and your possible Statham mania here.
Because I said
Statham and Nick Cage. That's it. That's all she needs, and she's
I felt
good.
very,
Those are an interesting
very
pairing.
realistic scene. Yes, I know, right? I'm not very predictable in who my obsessions are, but when I have them, they're pretty strong.
Steph,
Yeah.
what's your favorite Nick Cage movie?
Oh God, impossible.
Okay, fair enough.
I mean, I could give you like a top 10, maybe a top 5, but a favorite it would be a rough one for me.
It's Raising Arizona for me.
Oh, yes.
That's
Hands
a
down.
really, really
Yep.
good one.
Hands down. Another No Notes movie, honestly.
I'm not going to tell you guys what, but there is one of his films that I'm contemplating picking for No Notes. And I
Ooh.
almost wanted to pick it in October, but it's not an October movie. Unless we just are like, who cares what month it is? We're going to do it. But there is a movie of his that I think is fucking brilliant, and I want to talk about it.
I
don't think we should be beholden
we need to be beholden
seasons.
to that with No Notes, because
I
we're
know.
beholden
Yeah.
to that more with Guilty Pleasure.
I'm
Yeah.
using the November thing just because I have so many movies that I just need something to help me pick. So like I just kind of like narrowed it down simply because I needed something to help me decide.
A huge part of me wants to like tell you guys like 2 that I'm choosing between and let you help me pick, but I know that's cheating, but I'm really struggling.
How's there cheating? There's no rules. I thought about doing the same thing with and if you do it, I might do it too, honestly.
All right, I'll do it then. I'm doing it.
Rip the Band-Aid off.
I'm going to tell you guys 2 possible. One is my Nick Cage obsession, and then the other will be my potential, like another movie that I just rewatched, and I was like, oh, this is a fucking great movie. And if you guys, part of it will come down to what you guys have seen or not seen.
That's
If
what I
you
was thinking
haven't
too.
seen
Fair
one, I'm
enough.
thinking that's probably what I'm going to pick.
If it's a Nick Cage movie, I've probably seen it. So
Really? Oh, do you like watch all Nick Cage movies?
I'm 50-50
I've
with
been a
it.
fan
So
of his forever. I'm not, like I don't swoon, but I'm definitely a Cage apologist.
Like, do you feel really cool? Because I feel really cool, and almost never, but in this moment, I feel really cool when I like loved Cage when nobody liked Cage.
Yes.
Like I was
Yeah.
all in with Cage, and now suddenly everybody's like, "Yeah, Cage is a great actor." I'm like, "No fucking shit, people!" Like he
yeah,
always
where have you
was.
been? Yeah.
He just made bad movies for a while, but he was still brilliant.
I mean,
But even
go
in the
back
bad
to our
movies,
whole
they were still fun.
yeah,
yeah, and to go back to our whole conversation about like great rom-coms, there is no rom-com better than Moonstruck. Like it's
oh,
the
Moonstruck,
best
oh,
Yeah.
rom-com.
God.
And part of that is because he's giving a full opera performance in that movie. Like it's so huge and ridiculous, but still so great.
I think for guilty pleasures, we might have to have a Nick Cage month now.
Yes, 100%.
Even-
I am somebody who has a magnet on my refrigerator of him with his face in the cage, and it just says, "Not the bees."
The bees, yeah,
Yeah.
I have a mug that says, "You're a national treasure." It's
Oh
pretty,
man.
pretty fun, like a romantic mug. It's really great.
Oh.
Oh, and I have his face on a pillow. I have quite a few, I think, Cage
I
accoutrements.
assume you've seen the Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. Then,
Oh my
right?
god! Oh my god!
I loved that movie so much. I thought it was
so
kind of
fucking
brilliant,
much.
actually.
That movie is so goddamn good. And Pedro Pascal is yes,
Oh my god,
an absolute masterpiece.
he might be my Nick Cage.
He should be your Nick Cage. He is definitely Cage-esque. He's worthy. He's so good
Okay,
in that
so-
movie.
So, what are your choices, Steph?
Oh, you would tell you now?
Mhm.
Okay. Ooh, on air. Gosh, I got a little nervous. So one thing I was thinking about that is again isn't super October-y but has a little bit of that vibe is Old Boy.
Oh.
the original or
Good
the
choice.
remake?
The original, not the Spike Lee
Jesus
remake,
Christ. Never ask me that question. Always the
Okay,
original.
Good. Okay, good answer.
Have you guys seen that, Moon?
right? I haven't. I'm familiar with it, but I haven't seen it.
I've seen them both. Yeah.
Okay. And then when I was talking about the Nick Cage masterpiece, it is Pig.
I haven't seen it, but I really want to.
That's actually one I haven't seen.
We might have to pick it out. Okay. I'm not committing to this. I'm thinking about it, but that would be a movie that I think we could talk about in no notes.
Okay, well, in the name of fairness and reciprocity, then my two choices are, and that I'm having trouble struggling or picking between. I've gone back and forth like 700 times. Are Planes, Trains, and Automobiles.
Oh man.
And Arsenic and Old Lace.
Oh.
You're gonna have to flip a coin there.
They're both so good.
They're both
good. Like kind of cozy and adorable and sweet, and I love them both so much. And I'm a huge
fucking sucker for black and white movies. Like
I'm a sucker for Capra and Cary Grant. So
well, yeah, Cary Grant. But I'm just you're gonna have to flip a coin on that one. There's no way to pick between those two.
I know, because like at the same time, Steve Martin is like one of our greatest living comic treasures, I think. If I had Halloween though, or stuff, if I had October, I would have made us do Sleepy Hollow, because I think that's the perfect Halloween movie.
Part of it is that like when it comes to Halloween / horror movies, I mean, we start to get into such an infinite array that I know I have analysis paralysis and I can't do it. I'm like, I don't know what to pick, because I don't want to pick something like, oh, let's talk about Halloween, even though I think it's perfect. It just feels done to death. So
yeah.
Struggling to find something that feels like it works, but is maybe hasn't been so widely seen and discussed.
Yeah, a little off the beaten path would be good.
So I have a question for you guys. I know we are veering wildly all over the place, but this is related and I do want to ask it. Did you guys happen to see the Meg 2?
I haven't yet, but I really want to.
Oh, okay.
I want to see that dinosaur get eaten by a shark real bad.
All right. Well, I need you, when you do see it, and it's fine if you're going to wait until VOD or whatever, but tell me so we can talk about it, because I do want to get your thoughts on the sequel.
That's
you also see that they're doing all the Ghibli movies in the theaters again right now.
Oh yeah, they do that every year.
Awesome.
I'm so excited. Yeah.
I would very much like to see. Totoro was so beautiful. I can only imagine all of those movies are incredible on the big screen.
Howls is coming up, I think, in September.
Yeah, I typically go to several of those.
Here's a weird transition. I'm reading Uzumaki. Have you guys read that?
No, but I saw you were reading that and I heard it's great.
It's super weird. Jack, do you have any?
I have not.
Okay, it's like, it's manga. It's
yeah.
Okay, so all of this came up, and here's the connection to Ghibli, because my friends and I were having like a group text, and we were talking about how the writer, I believe his name is Junji Ito, I believe, of Uzumaki. His social media presence is exactly what you think that Murakami? No, Murakami's a writer. I'm so sorry, guys. Who made Totoro?
Miyazaki.
Miyazaki, thank you so much. Yes. Apologies to both Miyazaki and Murakami. He has the presence that you'd expect Miyazaki to have, whereas Miyazaki's actual kind of media personality is this sort of like slightly surly, crotchety old man almost. This guy who writes like weird cosmic body horror, all of his social media posts are actually like the guy who writes these really beautiful Studio Ghibli movies.
I love that. I love when you think that they're going to be total like dark weirdos because of what they write or create. And then they're just like lovely beings of light. And you're like, oh, you just channel all that energy into your art. But in real life, you're an absolute delight. I'm going to edit this thing and be like, holy shit, because we have been tonally all over the place.
All over the place, yes.
We talked about the Meg for all of 5 minutes, I think.
Well, that's okay. I mean, there's no rules.
Yeah.
Nobody said that.
No,
we had to.
But I love this because it's, again, I mean, I just enjoy bantering with you guys anyways, whether we're talking about what we were going to talk about or not, because it's interesting because, we're all creatives. We all have the thing that we kind of focus on and that we really enjoy. And then we're in each other's orbit. So we see what the other people are coming up with and enjoying what the other people are coming up with. And I think it's great. But I love when we kind of veer away from the topic, if you will, and we kind of follow this thread to get to some really interesting, deep shit that is universal across any medium, if you will. What doesn't have to be movies, but I love that we kind of get to the meat and potatoes of things, and it's probably not anything that hasn't been done to death before by like, you know, whatever. But I love that we get there together, like as a group, because it is kind of a universal thing, and it is at the root of the things that we love are these kind of some of these tough topics, you know, where it's like, wow, this may not be the easiest thing to talk about, but that's what makes it such a good thing to talk about.
Yeah. And I learned something new about you guys every time we do this.
Same. Yeah.
I think that's something though that's like, I think horror fans especially are usually pretty comfortable saying like, I'm going to go into these dark places and I'm going to go into uncomfortable places and I'm going to grapple with this stuff. And, you know, everybody approaches it differently. I think that's part of the reason that there's so many subgenres within the genre, and we all have the things we love and we all have the things we hate. And I think, like, for me, a huge thing as a horror fan has been accepting that, like, just because I don't love something doesn't mean it's not valid. I hate rape revenge movies, but I also understand that for some people they're, like, incredibly cathartic and meaningful. And I think that's incredible. And, like, just because I don't enjoy them, I'm not in a position to unvalidate their existence. And I think those are all the kind of uncomfortable conversations that, for the most part, our community, the horror community, is pretty comfortable having and getting into, you know, sort of going into like, I don't have to like something for it to be valid, because there are so many subgenres of horror and so many little weird alleyways you can go down, and all of it is designed to make you somewhat uncomfortable in some way. Even the Meg is designed to make you think like, what if I went into the ocean and a big fucking shark ate me?
Yeah.
And I like the ocean and I'd like to not be eaten by a big fucking shark.
Or I think I love what you just said there, because I think horror, especially, you know, in whether it's movies or even like in the indie writing community, is that, and I wholeheartedly agree, because you've never met that such a welcoming, like wholesome, loving, like uplifting bunch of people than are in the indie horror community, and they always are talking about, because there's you'll get down. It's when you get into this, if you ever get into this, anybody listening, if you get into this indie writing stuff, and you're like, I'm going to be the next great American author. It's like, well, maybe. And I really hope that that's true. But for a lot of us, it's not. It's we do it because we love it, not because we're making money doing it. But there's so much support in there where you see this constantly, where it's like, hey, you don't have to be hating on whatever genre, even if you write gothic stuff, and you don't have to hate on the splatterpunk guys, because especially in horror, there's more than enough room for everybody. There's more than enough audience for everybody. And that is so true, because it's, this one thing might be the in thing, but there's a bajillion other people out there that are kind of like, I'm not really into the in thing. What else you got? So I love that horror, especially, and not just in writing, but in movies too. It's like, there's room for all of it, it's where there's only, I think we're seeing it now with Marvel, especially with the superhero TV shows and the movies and the comics. And this, I think there's like this very much sense of superhero fatigue. It's like, okay, oh my God, another one. I'm like, another one, like, oh, another Star Wars thing. And I'm a big Star Wars fan, but like, really, a fucking another one? Like, oh my God, that was what made it so special initially, was there wasn't a lot of it, and so we're seeing a little bit of fatigue there. But like in horror, a trope might get kind of overdone a little bit, or like worn out, but there's always room in the horror community for it. And I think that's just that, more than anything else, I think is what I love about horror, is that it doesn't matter what you like, you can go find it. It's out there.
For sure. I mean, that's why like a comparatively low budget fifth sequel in a series like the Insidious movie this summer could just kind of like clean up at the box office.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it's the fifth sequel, but like horror fans care a lot, and we show up. Yep. And we do not get fatigued, because it's such an inventive genre.
It
by
is.
definition.
You can go any way you want. Yep.
Damn, this has been a good little chat.
Well, I have two.
Well, there's nothing
two
wrong
things
with a big,
about that.
dumb summer blockbuster.
Kelly, you always
that's
do it.
okay.
You're like, I have 10 things. Point the first.
I know, I'm sorry. I feel like I need a pointer and a whiteboard.